Good afternoon. I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to another session of Nail School. All right, so we've had some tips on Tracy, and these were gel tips that were actually put on her nails, and they were removed and shortened, and some designs we're doing on top. I want to show you guys how to safely remove it from the surface of the nail using my electric file. This is going to give you guys a really good understanding on technique. I'm going to go through pressure, direction, showing you guys what you have to do so that you remove it safely, right? Because again, we don't want to depend on acetone. We want to be able to depend on your technical skills as a professional to get them down thin enough so that when you're applying new product over the surface, you don't need to go all the way down to the surface of the natural nail, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get her cuticle back as much as I possibly can using the magic wand, right? I cannot physically see all the questions, so Tracy is definitely going to help me out. She's going to be watching and seeing what comes across. That way I'll be able to answer your questions if you guys have any. Okay, so I'm going to be using a safety bit. For those of you guys who are familiar with your electric file, what we want to make sure is that we unlock it. This is going to go inside the collet. I'm going to leave a little bit of space. We're going to lock this up. Now, the speed I'm going to be working at, as you guys can see right here on the surface of my electric file, I'm going to go ahead and turn this up. I'm going to start off around 8,000 RPMs. I don't need to run this at Mach speed. And since I'm right-handed, I'm going to be working in forward, and I want to be able to show you guys with this bit, you can't cut, which is absolutely beautiful. But again, you need to have good skills. That way you're able to remove the product safely and set yourself up for reapplication so they're not going to be running an issue. I have our dust extractor underneath so everything sucks down to the bottom. For those of you guys that just joined us, make sure to smash that like button. And if you guys have any product inquiries, you can go to www.youngnails.com. So I'm always working towards myself in one direction. I don't hold the hand like this and go side to side. What I mean by one direction, you can see how I'm holding my hand. I have this as balance. I want to be able to pull, again, in one direction towards myself. I feel that a lot of beginners out there, when they're using the electric file, if you're going side to side, the bit will spin around the nail, right? So again, I'm using a safety bit, so she's not going to feel anything. But if you're going side to side, you're actually creating a lot of friction, which leads to heat, and we don't want that to happen. So my game plan is to get it off the cuticle area. So I'm gently going to work around the cuticle area, nice, again, and gentle. Right, nice and gentle all the way through. And as you can see, some of that product really starts to go off. And then what I like to do in one direction is kind of work through the center, right? And you can see that as I'm coming through the center, I can already see the white base. I'm gonna turn this up just a little bit more, right? So this gives me a good idea of, okay, with the pressure that I'm using, again, I'm not using a tremendous amount of pressure. What I'm actually able to do is remove that color and then start working down the sides to get everything off. And again, I'm not staying in one position. I'm constantly moving with my E-file, right? Constantly moving, and working through the tip. So you can see there is no natural nail exposure right here. So if I'm coming through the tip using the barrel in one direction, you can see how fast I'm actually able to get the color off. Now she has a full well tip on, right? So there is that protection to the natural nail. I'm not going to just go in one position. That is setting yourself up for the same experience as if you were using a hand file and just sitting here and filing aggressively in one position to get it off. You're going to create just as much heat. I'm working, again, if I'm working this area, two ways to do it. I'm using this part of the barrel right here. Notice, right? I'm in an overgrip position. I'm able to work around the cuticle, and I'm able to get close without basically touching, right, any of her skin. And then once I start getting to areas that are really thin, I use what I call a feathering motion, just a light feathering motion. So This, again, is going to allow me to slowly get the product, right, off. Look at that. Look, I'm able to cleanly remove it from the corner. And as I am moving down towards that edge, I want to use what I call a light flickering motion, a few basically pulls. And if it's too close, I'm not going to force it. I'm just going to leave it there, right? Come back, lightly touch, and I'll come back for that. We have other bits that are going to allow me to get to that position. But look at how fast I'm actually able to remove product from the surface. And again, without her, pulling back or going, ow, that hurts. You're not going to create any heat if you're constantly moving. So if I'm trying to get the product off of here, I'm going to use this part of my barrel right here. And notice, if I'm looking down the barrel of the nail, I'm coming in one direction, towards myself. And you can see I'm slowly able to remove product right there. Any questions?
No, just a couple comments. Someone remembers when their nail tech went through their finger.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, it's unfortunate, but the truth is it's not the tools that do damage, it is the fools that do damage, right? So, if you have someone that is improperly trained, doesn't have the experience, then what ends up happening is you can obviously take your electric file and create a lot of issues. Okay, so you can see I have a little bit of color right there. I'm not going to sit there and constantly dig and dig and dig. We have a majority of there's a little bit of this tip left. I don't need to focus on trying to get everything off. What I like to do in a situation just to get the color gentle, so I'm going to run this again, maybe around 5,000 or 6,000 RPMs.
Here's a comment of, is there another method? This way has drastically thinned my nails. I want to stop doing them.
So again, one of the ways that you can assist is, again, by using a solvent like acetone to help you remove or soften the surface of the product. What we want to try to do is create a surface that you're actually able to get through. But honestly, it just takes more training. I feel that with the proper training, you're going to be able to get the product off safely and get your nails ready. It's not necessary to take it all the way down to the natural nail. There could be a little bit of product left on the natural nail, setting yourself up for rebalance. For those of you guys that just joined us, make sure to smash that like button. Okay, so I've got it down tight enough. What I'd like to do finally before I go into any application is I like to take an arbor band. This is a sanding band. This is what we're going to use to basically come in. Now, again, at a very low speed, and the speed I'm using, I'm basically tickling the inside of my wrist. This is a very gentle area. That is exactly what you want to be able to use pressure-wise. So you can see I'm lightly coming around, right? I'm just lightly tickling out. There's just a hair more product right there. I'm just being very, very careful to try to tickle away all that paint. And I want to be as gentle as I can to remove shine from the surface, getting this ready, lightly feather. And as you can see, I got all of it off. And that's what we want to be able to do is get this prepped and ready for reapplication. You can see there's a little bit of product right here all the way through. It's a tight bond to the natural nail. It is not necessary to take everything off. If we put ourselves in a position, what we're able to do is complete a new service, again, without doing damage to the natural nail, without thinning out the natural nail. This is what we want to be able to set yourselves up so that you guys have success when it actually comes to maintenance. Now, another thing you can actually do is sometimes it gets to a point where you can use the end of, right, we've got some great pushers, and you can use the pushers just to lightly kind of scrape off, because we don't have a lot of product right here. There's no need for me to sit here and dig at the same point and create, right, any type of patch or a red mark. What I'm trying to do is clean up the surface of the area. That way, when we come in with swipe, right, I'm going to use this to cleanse the surface of the natural nail. Again, I have a great bond on the surface. Her natural nail is in great shape. This is going to set me up so that when I'm using protein bond, I'm going to be able to come through, apply 2 coats, and set myself up for reapplication.
Does soaking do damage?
Yeah, so the question is, does soaking do damage? So overexposing your natural nails to a harsh solvent for a long period of time, all it's going to do is it could basically make your nails brittle, right? So, just like I would never recommend anyone washing their hair with acetone, right? That would ruin your hair. Well, your natural nails are composed of the same material. You have keratin, and again, overexposing that keratin structure to a harsh solvent on a regular basis can lead to basically the nails getting thin, and then again, eventually the client's saying, I don't want to wear it anymore. So you want to be able to take it down again, like fiber gel. I don't need to set up a base, right? If I was using, say, the soft white product, what I normally do if I'm using anything like this is I'll brush through the center, I'll go through all 10 nails, and then when I'm done doing all 10 nails, I'll wipe the excess off and then use that amount to lightly work from side to side. I'm not interested in creating a really thick coat. All I'm trying to do is enhance the surface, trying to get it as even to the sides as I possibly can. And this is a great way for me, right? And again, I'm not going to just stick it inside the light. What I want to be able to do is just wait a couple seconds. Everything is going to self-level into perfection, that we can go inside the light.
The only place that I'm getting lifting is the tip of my nails. Any ideas why? I use swipe, protein bond twice.
Okay, so if you're getting lifting, if you're getting lifting from the very tip of the nails as it grows out and it's separating from the enhancement, the reason why that's happening is because the natural nails are dehydrated. So as the natural nails get dehydrated, they get dry and brittle, it tends to separate from the natural nail. You can use a bit like I just showed you guys. Turn the hand upside down, use this bit, clean out any of the separation that you have, and then what you'll be able to do, again, is condition it with a really good cuticle oil. I recommend, again, the sugar cuticle oil. This stuff is absolutely amazing. Have your client condition not just this area, right? You're not going to just condition this area right here. You want to make sure that you condition the hyponychium as well, right? So if the client is going to be conditioning this as well as this, the natural nails are going to have less tendency to basically separate. So again, once I have that first coat on, again, I'm not concerned about any of this right here. If we're just doing a natural overlay, I'm going to shape that out to perfection. What I like to do, there's another question.
Is there vitamin E in your acrylic?
So vitamin E in the acrylic, there is not vitamin E in the acrylic. What there is in what we have inside fiber gel, which is absolutely amazing. I think was there calcium inside here? What is it? It is keratin. Yes. So as you can see, fiber gel with keratin. So there's a keratin additive that's basically that helps with additional strength. So what I like to do sometimes, again, when you're applying the product, what you can do is if you're having a difficult time, again, getting the product to the sides, you can take the edge of the brush, and what I like to do is just lightly kind of just float it down the sides to get it as close to the edges as I possibly can. And then what we want to be able to do on this side as well is just use that very edge of the brush so that we could get this all the way so that you have really tight edges, right? So that we have that even structure all the way through. Let's go back inside the light and go ahead and cure it.
How many sets could I get out of an acrylic trial kit?
Out of an acrylic trial kit, you could probably get realistically, I'd say 3 to 4 sets. It gives you the ability to get a feel for the product, test it, test consistency, seeing the wear. It's a great also trial kit to give you a test of the powders, which I really do feel is going to make all the difference in the world when it comes to you testing, the different range of colors that we have inside the line.
Any tips for beginners?
Any tips for beginners? Hold on for 1 second.
He's digging through the other cupboards. He'll be right back. Taco?
Yeah, so tips for beginners. We have a real big class going on right now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to use some conversion top coat. This is going to give it the additional shine that I want. So for those of you guys that are working with manicure top coat, what I like to do is I like to brush through the center. I'm going to answer that question, and then I go through all the nails. Once I'm done doing that, I like to take the excess and move that excess from cuticle to free edge all the way through. And then again, we're going to go inside the light and cure this out. And then I'll go ahead and file this into shape. When it comes to all your beginners out there, the working with any powders in the system it's truly about working with great consistency. I'll show you guys, even with regular powders. Let me grab some liquid so I can show you.
While he's doing that, I would say also for beginners, you have to have a lot of patience. We all started there. It's difficult at first. The more you practice, it's all about practicing. Practice.
Yeah. So, for beginners, and this is what I'm always saying, you have to master consistency. So to be able to pick up a consistent bead, if I submerge my brush on one side and I tap, I don't swirl, I don't bounce off the sides. I'm literally going to submerge, I'm going to tap. Notice at a 45-degree angle, if I pull down and bounce inside the powder, I'm able to pick up a bead on one side of my brush. And the key is counting. You want to be able to release it from the surface so that it doesn't run all over the place. Now you're going to notice, right, if I wasn't successful, if I was taking my brush and I was swirling it around and bouncing, and then I went through it, I just dragged it like this, if I was water skiing, this is going to be very, very difficult for me to get it off my brush. So for a lot of beginners out there, you have to be able to master just picking this up, submersing your brush, tapping it, and then again at a 45-degree angle, pulling down, bouncing on one end of the brush until you have one fluffy bead. Count 1, 2, 3, and you're going to notice that when you release, it's going to come off, and then you have what I call a very slow self-leveling consistency that's going to be very easy to manage. That, for all beginners, you have to get consistency down before you move on to the next stages. For all of you guys out there that are licensed or in school, if you really want to take your nails to the next level, my suggestion is to contact Ray, get yourself into a class, make sure that you're going to get with us so that you'll be able not only to see the work that I do, but you'll be able to work along with me so that if you're running into issues, you're going to be able to get those answers or those questions answered. So again, I'm going to condition with this, and then I'm ready to go. And the key is to use the product to get the natural nails to thrive. Fiber gel is absolutely unbelievable, especially if you're going from acrylic or something very, very long and you want to be able to have a coat that doesn't require a base coat, can literally be laid right on top of each other. You could use any top coat you want over the surface. It could be conversion top, manicure top, finish, stain resistant top coat. Everything is going to work. This is also a fantastic foundation to use in color as well. So you could put this down. Let's say that you had inconsistencies or imperfections in the nail. You could use this as your base and then basically use color over the surface and all gel color. It's incredible what manicure color does. Go Time, all the other colors that we have in the line, how it bonds the natural nails. It's absolutely unbelievable.
One last question.
Does
the brush make a difference too?
Yes. So the brush makes all the difference in the world. And again, not to pump up my signature series, but you're going to notice that when I swivel this, I'm always able to swivel this to that type of point. It is crimped, right? It's pinched, creating an oval. That way, when I am working, right, with, say, a any type of powder, if I submerge my brush and I flatten this out, this is going to load it. If I tap one side, it flattens the tip. That way, again, when I pull and bounce inside the powder, you can see that I'm actually able to get something, again, nice and fluffy, something that is going to be very easy for me to release and then does not jam up my brush. Because of the flat surface, if I was working around the cuticle area, this is going to be very easy for me to press around the perimeter of the nail because I can get into those really, really tight spots without having to worry about something that, and I've seen brushes that are wide and square, like, think about that. If you have a brush that's wide and square like this doesn't fit around the cuticles well. You want to be able to work with a product that is going to self-level. So if I submerge my brush and I pull down and I bounce, we want to be in a position where if I'm at the right angle, if I'm setting this down here at this angle and I'm left with this fluffy bead, if the tip of my brush is flat and the finger is angled down, this is going to allow me to walk around the perimeter. Look how I'm contouring and lightly pressing all the way, right? Creating that natural arch. And then again, getting it tight to the cuticle areas without it running all over the place. The brush makes a huge difference. And again, and for all of you beginners out there, if you guys run into any questions, just remember that we're here to help you, right? Basically solve any of the problems that you have. For those of you guys that need information, upcoming classes, make sure to get a hold of Ray Bracamontes here at home office, 1-800-777-9170, www.youngnails.com. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Look forward to seeing you guys on Nail School Live soon. Have a wonderful day. Peace.
Subscribe the channel now. Subscribe the channel now. Subscribe the channel.